Risk of Rain 2 is a 3D third-person shooter, multiplayer roguelike developed by Hopoo Games and published by Gearbox. It's also, without a doubt, the most disappointing game I have ever played, and it's a sorry excuse for a sequel. I expected better from you, Hopoo. How could you? Gotcha. This is my favorite game. When they announced Risk of Rain 2 was going to be 3D and not 2D, my first reaction was, oh no, don't do that. You've only ever made 2D games before. This game won't work in 3D. You'd have to redesign everything. Are you bananas? But at the same time, I was also really hyped. Everyone was really hyped. The developers released little updates every now and then to keep the hype up. Oh look, there's a functional online multiplayer system now. Isn't that great? Risk of Rain is one of my favorite games ever. I went ham on that game, dude. I tore that game to shreds like a wild ape. But the multiplayer was a problem. Local multiplayer worked fine, but when are you going to use that? How often do you have all your friends all huddled around one computer? What a bizarre situation. It'd have to be like Seinfeld, where people just walk into your apartment whenever they want. The online multiplayer was a nightmare. You and whoever you wanted to play the game with would both have to download Hamachi and connect to the same Hamachi network or whatever, and then type in random IP addresses and port numbers until it finally works 30 minutes later. But sometimes it didn't work anyway, even when you set everything up right. And nobody knows why. So anyway, part of me was like, how could I not like it? I love the first one so much. I'm sure Hopoo knows what they're doing. And they're fixing multiplayer too. Oh boy. And the other part of me was like, it'll never live up to the hype. They were off their rockers when they decided to make it 3D. There's no way they'll pull this off. How many employees do they even have? Like 2? And the other part of me was like, I'm gonna tear this game to shreds like a wild ape. It's March 28th, 2019. The game is suddenly released. Early access. I can't play it yet because my computer's being a big baby. Let's fast forward. God damn. This game is hard. Way harder than the first one. And that's saying something. The only time I've gotten the ending so far was the one time I played on Drizzle difficulty instead of Rainstorm. Pretty shameful, right? I think it's harder mostly because you have to aim now. That alone really hurts. But there's more. In the first game, AoE was the name of the game. To win, you need to kill large groups of enemies all at once. Every character can do it. Welcome to Risk of Rain 2. There's a whole new dimension for enemies to move in, which means they won't stack up in big piles and stand around waiting to get nuked anymore. They're all over the place. Everyone still has tools to deal with grouped up enemies, but the enemies aren't grouped up anymore. The balance changes seem to be working toward the same goal. For example, Infusion was an uncommon item that increased your max health by 1 every time you killed an enemy. Forever. That's a lot of bang for your buck. Well, at least until you hit the health cap. It's generally thought to be the #1 best item you can get in that game. Now Infusion stops granting you extra max health once you reach plus 100. Gotcha! And on the other side, Lemurians were the lamest enemies ever. They just walk around. Now they spit fire at you. They actually almost killed me a couple of times. Big surprise, nerfing the strongest items and buffing the weakest enemies is going to make your game a lot harder. But I appreciate that, because the way I feel now about Risk of Rain 2 is how I felt about the first one when it came out too. It takes me out of my comfort zone. Like, this game is so hard that I'm gonna shit myself. But not all the balance changes made the game harder. One of the most pathetic items in the original game was a common item called Head Stompers. It dealt some damage when you landed on people. Lame. Now it's a rare item that kills everything beneath you if you hold jump in midair. I'm exaggerating, but still. Also, Sticky Bomb is the new best item. Also, monster logs aren't so hard to get anymore. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with these changes, but whoever decided to nerf Monster Tooth this hard should be put on the rack. But the game is still in early access. And it shows. A lot of the items you can find on the planet are only unlockable after you complete a challenge, which means that on your first few runs you'll be seeing War Banner and Rose Buckler a lot. The number of playable characters right now looks disappointing compared to the first one, but by the end of the early access period, I'm sure I'll be happy with what we get. Unless we don't get Hand D and Acrid. And as far as items go, Ancient Scepter and Filial Imprinting. At least. They added a lot of new stuff too. Secret areas, new enemies, new items, new characters, new levels. Active items are called equipment now, and they don't suck anymore. Well, some of them do. Lunar items. See, when you kill enemies, they have a small chance to drop a lunar coin, which is huge. They carry over between runs, unlike regular money. Then you'll get portals sometimes near teleporters that take you to a shop where you can spend them to get wacky lunar items with crazy effects and crazy drawbacks, like shaped glass, which ruined this otherwise perfect run by doubling my damage but halving my health. It turns out I needed that health. You can also spend lunar coins to open up lunar pods that spawn around the levels, like chests, and have lunar items in them. If you really want to go to the Lunar Bazaar, then you can find the Newt altar on your level and give it a coin to guarantee a portal spawn. You can also unlock the Artificer there with 10 lunar coins. Ask any Risk of Rain veteran what the most important thing in the game was, and they'll say, the Command artifact. Command took almost all chance out of the game by dropping boxes instead of items, and then you could choose from the boxes what items you wanted. Obviously this is bullshit, so Hopoo dialed it way back, and then dialed it back forward a little. In the Lunar Bazaar I mentioned before, which is actually called the Bazaar Between Time, there's a spot that offers 2 items that you can trade multiple lower level items in to obtain. You can do this as many times as you want, as long as you can pay for it. Also, 3D printers spawn in the world, which take one item of a certain rarity and turn it into a specific other one over and over again. These can make or break runs, especially if you find a printer for Sticky Bomb or Soldier's Syringe. Getting crazy item combinations with Command was one of my favorite parts of the first game, so I like that Hopoo recognized that and gave us the opportunity to influence our runs more. But can you still break this game? Is there still potential for ridiculous, hours-long, invincible runs that only end when the game runs out of memory and crashes? Yeah. But they fixed the crashes.